Section 11 on traffic. Very few changes from our two prior MOUs that were sent to you, for which I don't think we ever got any comments on. So I assume, I don't know if you're okay or not.
We did, Louis. I mean, when I send over those documents to Jeanette, she send them to you. Do you not read them? So the traffic was real simple.
We read everything.
Okay. Yeah. So again, I mean, the no parking signs, if no parking signs are posted, you know, on all the properties, that's fine. It's not really a place that you can park, although people have parked in front of the driveway before and pulled actually into the driveway and blocked the driveway. We asked the lady to leave. She was actually a painting contract from wife of one of Henry's painters and didn't park in his properties, his driveways for some reason. But with regard to traffic, you know, from a parking standpoint, you know, we have parking restrictions. We have access requirements. I think it's talked about in emergency access is below this. Was this the, hang on. So I don't even know what this, I don't even know, to reduce possible congestion. So again, we're talking about something that doesn't exist. To reduce possible congestion from visitors to the facility, including guests of residents, delivery emergency vehicles, and contractors, the corporation will discuss provisions. I don't, what are we discussing? What are the provisions other than the no parking sign?
We're also stipulating that the number of spaces equals the minimum for each, you know, potential full or part-time staff, and one space for every 3 beds. We're also stipulating in here.
Yeah, but Louis, that's not.
And we're also agreeing that you will not request any sort of waiver or variance or modification from county regulations.
County regulations, so you can't go both ways. County regulations as of August 1st are 3 parking spaces and 1 disabled. That's what it is. 3, including 1. And we sent you that documentation. So we'll absolutely agree to that. And that's what we agreed to. As of August 1st, that's the requirement. You're using an old requirement that is no longer valid. And we won't ask to change the 3 spaces. We'll agree to that. But the new requirement, which a lot of people on Gibson Island, by the way, have their public testimony out there and asked for, the new parking requirement, which we sent you the documentation on, is 3 spaces, including 1. Now, we have many spaces available down below and the 3 up above, all being hidden. And then the front, if you know we needed to overflow, never get near the street. But again, until other people have no parking signs on the street in front of their property, you know, it's discriminatory to choose this property, no parking.
When we talked on the Zoom call last time, Craig, we talked about no parking signs. And unlike what you put forth in your piece most recently, you indicated if Henry Hopkins would agree to a no parking sign, you would agree to in front of Banbury.
Bill, I have no recollection of that. Of course, we didn't get the Zoom call, but if Henry Hopkins will agree and our neighbor Cabby, okay, if he'll agree, that's very reasonable, very reasonable.
You're looking at a very tight road on Banbury.
I 100% agree with you, Bill. If the 3 agree, absolutely go along with the neighborhood. Are you okay with that? But I want to be clear on that. The gravel drive that goes to our approved in 2007 overflow parking in the front of the building, which is not something we ever want to use unless we get crazy filled up. That's got to stay open. No fence going across there. It will be used as a last resort. It was approved as overflow parking. We want to keep it. So we certainly want mention of that. But
Wait,
we
wait,
will
wait,
not.
fence across where? Corporation land?
Yes, and that's not been approved for
Right.
additional parking.
Can you give us documentation about?
Yes, I'll give you, it's in your file, 2007, it was approved for the Hennessy's as overflow parking. And it's in the file, happy to give it to you, Ashley has it. And so all I'm saying is that would be a last resort if we were full in our other locations. And, you know, again, the only time I can imagine is if you had 9 occupants who had multiple family members, and it was Mother's Day. And certainly, you know, it's not the intent. It's a very nice front looking on the golf course. It's not the intent. But obviously, if the neighborhood, Henry and Cabby, agree to no parking signs, not that we'd ever be parking on that road anyway, but you know, we need to be able to make sure that gravel road stays as it is. If the corporation wants to do something else, you know, we can pull some cars in there because it was, again, approved as overflow parking when the Hennessy's, you know, built their house. And I'll get to the.
If you have that, then I'd like to see that because I've never seen that. Thank you.
Craig, what are you going to do if 5 of your residents want cars? 6?
Well, right now we can fit 3 cars. The garage doors don't have to be closed. We can fit 3 cars in there. If you put the dumpster, certainly you can put another 5 cars down below, a couple cars on the ramp. Depending on when the dumpster's filled up, you'd have to move some cars. But the good news that's we got the front to do that.
When you say the front, do you mean between your house and the golf course?
Yes, that's the overflow parking. If the trash truck came in and said, okay, to maneuver, I need these, the 3 cars in the garage don't need to be moved, but I need to move these cars. So if you look at the video I sent you, I actually moved my car onto, when we took down that wall, took down the solar panels, that's all very stabilized. There's filter fabric underneath it. So cars can be moved off there. I asked the gentleman on the film, do you need me to move my car? He said, no, he spun around easily. My point is, in 15 years of doing this, with 47 people between the 3 buildings that are clustered right next to each other, how many people have had cars that have actually driven them?
1.
15 years. So again, Bill, to get 5 people who have cars, with all due respect, there's a lot more parking, especially this year, especially this summer. We've counted upwards of 12, 13 cars on the front of properties, not hidden down below. So we could have 5 people plus the 3 for staff, and you'd never see those cars. And maybe when the trash truck comes, if they weren't pulled down onto the grass, because again, happy to walk down there if you want. You could park 7 cars where the solar panels on the wall used to be. That wall's all in the ground. You could park 7 cars right there, pull them all off there, and the trash truck can spin around. It's not an issue. Trash truck's going to come at 10 o'clock in the morning on Mother's Day, and we need to move a couple cars up front temporarily for the trash truck to get in. If 5 people drove, you know, never going to happen.
Apart from the fact too, that they're just, you know, within 100 feet of a golf fairway.
Louis, we have a lot of dented. We had our window broken. We have so many golf balls. We know exactly what it is
You
to
don't ever need a golf ball if you want one. I've got a bucket out here,
buckets of them.
I'll make a note. Thank you.
right at the front door.
But someone would have to be Tiger Woods to actually reach it. Just so you know.
Do you want to propose new language for this, or do you want us to take this and perhaps modify?
On the parking? Yeah, let us take a shot, and I'll get, before we propose it or simultaneously with it, I'll get you all that it was a 11 by 17 stamped print approved. So Ashley made two pages for me, so it'll come in 2 pages, but she's got it in the Hennessy file, and it's stamped over, labeled overflow parking. But yeah, we'll post something and put in Cabby's and Henry's, that let them dictate it. If they don't want any parking signs, we'll go along with that.
This is a landscape plan for 1753 Banbury.
This was the plan that was submitted. These were the plans, the red approvals on December 22nd, 07. Copies of those. The plan mysteriously disappeared after Bill protested there was no approval, but luckily I had copied them, Ashley copied them beforehand. The original plans were drawn 6/27/07, revised 7/7/07. Again, this is on the plan 6/27. So there was 7/7/07. So there was this plan in the file. There are two there that are not stamped. There was one stamped full size. That's how Ashley made the copies of those portions. I had her make a copy of each just to, the approval was above the block, and then I had her get more so we could show. This was because Peter was trying to say somehow the building had moved, the setback had moved, the free spaces on the sides of the building had somehow moved. So last summer when this whole debate was going on, I made sure I got copies of the plans. But this is Banbury Road, and this is the new driveway. This is the existing gravel driveway which was left, which the Hennessy's were allowed to improve by the corporation with stone and cobblestones. So this is what the corporation owns, and there's a piece of it that the Hennessy's own. Part of that we had to cut off for impervious area because the Hennessy's garden walls were over their impervious area, actually when they built them, but it wasn't picked up until our plans went through. So this existing gravel drive is existing, it wasn't to be removed. This is the area that Bill said didn't exist. Stones, large flat stones with sod joints for overflow parking. So this whole plan was stamped December 22nd, 2007. And this whole plan was approved. Again, they never put in the proposed driveway. Corporation allowed them to put in, to improve the corporation path, roadway, whatever you want to call it. It's been improved. Those are the Hennessy's gravel, the Hennessy's cobblestones on corporation land. This can't be closed under the existing deeds. If it is closed somehow, then we have to get access. And it obviously has to be ingress and egress. So this was always proposed to be overflow parking, and we're not proposing for it to be anything else. But the whole time that Group Home has owned the property, we have used it. In fact, when the drone illegally flew over the property and flew over people, this was used as the construction entrance, and then we put down boards to preserve, so that there are plenty of pictures of that. So this can't be closed. This is also, by the way, where the corporation attempted on May 20th to put up a 20-foot high fence to segregate the disabled, because at that point they knew the disabled were coming. We've never had any incidents with golf. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of golf balls over the 20 years at 1812 Skippers Row. Never been an issue, never been a complaint. But when the corporation found out it was a group home, we're going to put up a 20-foot high, tightly knit fence to block the view and the access to the common areas of the disabled, which is obviously discriminatory, illegal, and just downright unpleasant, quite honestly. So this roadway, pathway, whatever you call it, has always existed. Here's the previous house. This is the path coming in. This is Banbury Road. Then the Hennessy's took this before they put the gravel down. The Hennessy's superimposed their house. But this is the existing telephone pole, existing shrubbery at the time, existing trees that are still there, cobblestones they put in, and then they filled this in with gravel. But this comes off of what is Banbury Road, and it's just a different view of the picture. But these were all provided from Ashley on March